Hello, and welcome to the Patients Getting Paid podcast, where I interview people with chronic illness that have found ways to make money that accommodate their health and experts that can teach us all how to do it better. I'm Kathy Reagan Young. I'm host of the Patients Getting Paid podcast and creator of the PGP online course. If you haven't already, get on the PGP email list to get tips on finding and creating flexible remote work for yourself and a list of available condition-specific gigs every week. Sign up at patientsgettingpaid.com/list. After a 20 plus year career as a professional counselor and therapist specialized in disability and working as an accessibility advocate, today's guest retired due to an increase in her progressive physical disability. Following a year's break, she decided to pivot into tech training and web design work and reinvented herself as Suzy Web. Now, 13 years later, her online business is her happy place. I'm happy to welcome Susan Wheeler Hall to the podcast. Welcome, Susan, or should I call you Suzy?
Thank you. Well, either one works.
Okay, you answer to either.
Yeah,
Good,
either one. And it's for
good.
me, my Susan is more my previous career, my coaching, my counseling. And Susie, I just kind of wanted something different for the web
Yeah,
work so that I
yeah.
could,
I
you
love it. It's
know,
catchy too. Suzy Web.
yeah,
I like it. Easy to
yeah.
remember. So, if you would please share the story of you, whatever you want to share, whatever you're comfortable with, your background, whatever makes you you, your health
Mm.
issues, all of that.
Sure. Okay. Well, Susan Wheeler Hall. I'm in my very early 60s. Who would have thought? And I live with a progressive neuromuscular disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth,
Mm.
which in short of the way to say it is CMT. And it's not really widely well known still, which is a bit of a mystery because it is um, 1 in 2,500, so it's not really considered a rare disease, but at any rate, there you go. So, and it has many forms and all this stuff. And my mother had it, and I have
Oh,
one brother with it. So it's an inherited genetic
oh,
disorder.
okay.
So I've always had a disability. When when I was young and, like a child, I mean, I could run and play and do all the usual things that kids do, lots of falling down, skid knees.
Yeah.
Um, but then my disease progressed as I aged, which was
Mm.
fine. It's just the way it is. I don't have a lot of issues about that. I mean, in terms of you go with
Yeah.
the flow kind of thing.
Right. It is what it is, right? What are you going
It
to
is what it is.
do?
Yeah. Yeah. It's never really held me back. But
Good.
at one point, when I was very young, like when in my 20s, working in like as a secretary type thing, the disability definitely worked against me. So I thought to myself, I need to figure out how to create a career where my disability will not be a problem, it will be an asset.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's when I went to university and studied social work and specialized in the area of disability and did a lot of counseling therapy, helping patients with usually with new disabilities, coming to terms and
Mm-hmm.
accepting and that kind of thing. So that was a whole career and
Right. So
wrote
smart
some
of you to think
books.
that when you were so young. That was really
Yeah.
smart. Good for you.
Well, go with the flow, right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So that was like a whole career, and I wrote some books and did some trainings and lots
Wow.
of speaking and traveling, and so that was all great. But then in my 50s, there was a big lot of progression,
Mm,
and then I suddenly needed to be on a breathing ventilator and
mm.
all kinds of things, and I found myself in a wheelchair for almost 2 years and stopped work, and that was pretty hard. I thought, I hadn't planned on this.
Right,
And
right.
I've always been okay with adjusting, but this was like a really big one.
Yeah.
So then that's when I thought, you know what, I need something different. So that's when I went in. I've always been techie and really liked it. So then I just, rather than sit around and kind of, you know, I just wanted to figure my next steps.
Yeah.
So then I went to lynda.com and
Oh,
spent a lot of money learning about making websites, and I'd already done magazine and publishing work, so I was already graphical.
mm,
So I just needed to translate that now into more of a digital format,
the
if you like.
tech of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then so then I started out as just a web design company and made whatever websites people wanted, but then after maybe 5 or so years of that, I kind of got thought, no, I don't really like making websites about car parts and things
Mm,
I don't care about.
right, right.
And I found that a lot of coaches gravitated toward me because of my past career.
Mm,
And so then I started specializing in just, helping coaches really make their own websites. And so then I kind of pivoted toward like realizing I like to help people that help people, you
mm.
know?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then that includes making online courses
Mm,
because I teach people how to, not only create the content, but also,
mm-hmm.
you know, mix in all the technology to have it on their own website.
Mm.
So yeah, so all things techie is
Wow,
fun.
that's great. That's great. So that
Mm-hmm.
really serves you and your situation, and it's serving others.
Mm-hmm.
And the others that you're serving sound like they're serving others. So it's really a ripple effect. So
Yeah,
it starts with you, but it goes
yeah,
out beyond
yeah.
yourself. That must feel good.
It does, and that's when I
Good.
realized, like I say, making car parts and stuff. It just did not really
Yeah.
inspire me.
Right.
So, and then I
Yeah.
kind of realized one day, oh, because I mean, I used to, that was my thing. I was obviously a successful person in the helping profession.
Right.
So, but not being able to do it in the way that I could before.
Had been.
So
Yeah.
transferring to helping them others to do that. So,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
still do some disability coaching online. I still take some clients, but
Oh, nice.
primarily the tech stuff is what
Yeah.
takes the
Very
time.
cool. And so with the tech stuff, I imagine you can, I mean, I'm sure you have, goal dates and milestones for all of that, but I would imagine that that gives you the flexibility that if you're having a bad day or you need to go to a doctor's appointment or whatever, you don't have to ask for that time off, right? I mean,
No,
that's the beauty of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, but the interesting thing is that that's true. But I realized quite a long time ago because while I did work as a therapist with different agencies,
Hmm.
I'd say was maybe 5 or so years into my career because of my health, I decided to go as part private so that I would, because when I
Hmm.
can work, I can really work.
Yeah.
Then when I can't, I really need to take the time. And so it was always such a struggle trying to keep up with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of did that shift very early in my career.
Yeah. Now I recognize myself in something you just said, which is when I feel well, I can really work and
Mm,
work hard and work a lot. For me, it's such a vicious cycle because I feel well, I take on too much, I work too much, it makes me sick, and then I have to take time
yeah.
off. So is it the same for you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I admit to being a very happy workaholic.
Me too, Susie. Yeah, it makes me
'Cause-
happy,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
But what I do, and I think and this was part of the training that I would do with my clients when I was younger,
Mhm.
is okay. There needs to be a point that you need to be realistic and accept
Mhm.
certain things.
Mhm.
So, for example, like I can't cough.
Mhm.
So getting a cold is never simple for me.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
in the winter, I really do have to bubble. So the COVID thing, I'm like, this
Yeah,
is
you got that
nothing new
down.
for me.
Right. Welcome to my
Yeah,
world, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the way it felt. It was like, wow, I don't have to do
Yeah.
it myself anymore.
Right.
But so, realizing that there's certain things that I really need to do to take care of myself. And so when I do have a bit of a cold or whatnot, and I really need to give in. I need to stop
Yeah.
working and need to just go to rest and do the things I need to do
Mm-hmm.
to take care of myself. So what I tend to do is when I take on a client, I will let them know, okay, here's the deal,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know, and I would give you as much notice as I can. But I'm very, very good in terms of um, customer service.
Yeah.
So they're really respectful and they're like, no problem. And because it's usually not, I mean, I always make sure things are pretty in good shape.
Right. And if
But
you're telling them up
again,
front, right? You tell
yes, I
people up
do.
front so there's no surprises. And it sounds like who you've chosen to work with,
Yes, it's a
probably
good
they're
fit.
good-hearted people too. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and
So,
I think that's a key thing because I think a lot of
yeah.
people that deal with health issues, working with people that don't have any of that kind of
Yeah.
compassion or empathy, you know,
They don't get it. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I find that
Great
to help
point. Yeah. Really great
yeah,
point. Like pay attention to what
who
you're
you're
getting
working with.
into and who you're going to be working with, because that can
Yeah,
change the dynamic pretty
it can.
significantly. Yeah.
The other tip
Yeah.
is like I found that working with web stuff, anyways, I work with one person. So if like, you know,
Um,
I once had a organization come to me to build them a website and stuff. 7 people on the board, everyone's making different decisions.
ugh,
So I thought, no, I need the one person, you know. So really
yeah.
being kind of direct with what you need.
Yeah.
That's a good, you know.
Yeah.
That saved me a lot of
Yeah. Set yourself up for
aggravation.
success, right? Knowing
Yeah,
what you're capable of and what you're willing and unwilling and able and unable to do, and just be
yeah,
clear right at the onset.
yeah.
And don't work
Clarity's
with
good.
jackasses. That would be the other thing.
Yeah, but you sometimes don't know until you start working
Right.
with them.
Good
So
point.
you
I
know, you
know.
need a note.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the other thing that I do is, and I've always found this was a useful thing to do. So when I do have to give in and not be my regular workaholic, I line things up. I have some what I call, you know, air care jobs, and like when I need to be on my breathing machine for air care.
Uh-huh.
So I have some air care jobs stacked up and ready. Things that I can review in bed or, you know, rest. Then I still feel I'm being somewhat productive
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really
because that's
smart.
important to me.
Right.
Yeah, because if I have to be
Yes.
in bed and go like, oh, I'm thinking I want to do this, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this way I've kind of taught myself, okay, and I'll
That's
identify. So when if I like say for example, there's a course I really want to take or explore to learn a new tech thing,
yeah.
and I think, oh, that'll make a good air care job. So I sign up or buy it and
Yeah.
save it for when I, you know, because
When
then
it's an
it's
air
like,
care day.
yeah,
Yeah.
because then I kind of like
Brilliant.
look forward to it.
Right.
Sort
Oh,
of.
that's brilliant. I always say, and part of the push for this course and this podcast has been, I recognized that in all of us with chronic illness or any disability, you kind of have a choice, and you can if you can wake up and have some sort of a plan, something to do, some way to be productive, at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day feel like you have been, that
Mm-hmm.
changes the dynamic of your day, which changes the dynamic of your mental health, which changes the dynamic of your physical health. It's just also intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
If you have nothing and you have no plans, I know I can speak for myself and a lot of others that have shared this with me. We tend to go into the what ifs, which is horrible. No
Mm-hmm.
control over that. You're only going to, hurt
Why
yourself by
not?
thinking about that crap. And the
Yeah.
shoulds. And I always say, don't should all over yourself, because I should be
Yeah.
doing this. I should be doing that. I love what you're suggesting, though, is have those things that maybe aren't on somebody else's timeline, but you want to do them or you need to do them. But for those days that you have to be still or whatever, you can still feel like, yeah, for those of us who are workaholics in particular and need
Yeah.
to feel productive in a way, but yet can still be resting while we're doing it. I love that. That's a great tip. Right off the bat, look at you, Suzy Web. I love
Well,
that.
you know, and the same thing goes for like when you have to go to the medical appointments and stuff. And like I say, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm lucky, but in some ways, I guess I am. I mean, I've dealt with this all of my life, from
Mm-hmm.
childhood. So it's not new for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew, like, spending a lot of time in waiting rooms. And,
Yeah.
here's an interesting thing. Think about this. If you go to a lawyer, you're in this lovely room and it's called a lobby. Have a
Yeah.
seat in the
Yeah.
lobby. The lawyer will be with you. You go to a medical appointment and you're told, oh, go to the waiting room.
Right.
The doctor be with you. It's like,
And buckle your
it's actually
seatbelt
the
because you're going to be
same
waiting.
a long
Right.
time. But it's the
Right.
same, it's the same
Yeah.
image, but
Yeah. That's a
connotation is different.
great point. Yeah. We need to
Yeah.
change the way we speak about that, I guess.
So I
um,
would do the same thing where I would have certain appointment tasks,
yeah.
certain little ball books, things,
Right.
writing ideas, different things. Like won't waste the time. So if I'm in the waiting room, that's when I would be working mentally in my mind. Oh, I'm going to write chapter, la, la, la. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
outline something. So I never mind waiting because that's a
Yeah.
part of disability.
Yeah.
So if,
Great point. Yeah. Yeah. And acceptance is that's something learned, isn't it? Acceptance of all things, acceptance of your disease,
yeah,
acceptance of your limitations, acceptance of having to sit in the damn waiting room. And
yeah.
why dial up your own stress? Because it's not going to change
Right.
anything. So
Well,
accept it
and
and
accept
fill it with something that's productive or helpful for you.
that's productive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And accepting
That.
doesn't necessarily mean that it's okay. It's just,
Right.
it's the way it is. And
Right.
then I mean, the 3 A's of, any kind of counseling work is like the awareness, being aware of what's, get realistic and then
Right.
accept it, and don't make that mean something. Oh, if I accept it, I'm giving in, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Right.
No.
That's just a story. And
Yes.
then the action. What kind of action can you put in place to help you to feel good about accepting this particular moment that you
Yeah.
have to cope with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do
So it's
that
really
by
just about,
having these things where you can
yeah,
feel productive in what otherwise would just be dead time.
yeah,
It's just sitting.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
like it. That's brilliant. I love it. Um, so how is this is I assume this is full time. This isn't kind of a
Oh, yeah, it's full
side
time.
hustle, full
Well,
time.
it's
I don't
like,
think it doesn't sound like you go at anything other part time.
no, I don't think so. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. And is the income steady?
Yeah, it's pretty steady. Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good, good. How do
Mhm.
you market yourself?
Well, that's interesting thing too, because when I started out, again, I think I started out more as a side hustle,
Mm,
learning, trying to pivot, and so,
sure.
still do a bit of counseling, but not really. And then it just basically the marketing was one website at a time. So it's all
Mm-hmm.
client referral,
Word of
you
mouth.
know, um, and I've never paid for advertising. I think maybe I've done a couple of times I did Facebook ads, but not really. Don't have
Uh-huh.
time. And I
Right.
don't really want to I don't want to I like being my own thing.
Yeah.
I like my own,
Yeah.
so I don't want to hire people and
Right.
farm
So
out
you,
things. I just like to do a good job.
yeah.
So that's what I
And
do.
support
And
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the only thing that I have done that's worked out really well is in December I did a webinar. First time I did a webinar, and actually the interesting thing was I did this webinar on um, content creation for courses because
Mm.
a lot of people come to me, oh, I want to do my online course, and they really don't have their material together.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all worried about the tech, but they really don't have the content ready.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay,
True.
I'll do a little webinar on helping people to learn some, milestones there.
Uh-huh.
And so there was maybe 15 people on the webinar, and 9 of them reached out to me after the webinar because I didn't really have a pitch. I was like, okay, this bugs me that people aren't ready. So, hey, maybe this will help you be ready, right?
Right.
Because it's time consuming. It's a waste of my
Yeah.
time when they're not ready. So then they all reached out to me, and I'd say like 9 of them reached out, and 8 of them hired me to help them get clear
Oh my gosh,
on
that's
creating their
great.
websites because you need to have the clarity first.
Right.
So
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 true.
yeah, that
So
was
true.
so I thought to myself, well, okay, that worked.
Yeah, right.
But
Didn't
it
go into
didn't.
it for marketing, but that's what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I always say too, marketing, I think the word marketing scares a lot of people and they have some misconceptions about it. But really, if you're just sharing good information and
Hmm.
helping people and just not holding stuff back, just like, here's everything I know about this and I hope it helps you. That's marketing,
Yeah,
and that's the kind of marketing I want to do. I like to create relationships and I just want to help people. And
right.
then, I just think most people are good hearted people and they want to help you back. You help them, they want to help you back. And so that's
Mhm.
the best kind of business relationship, that you're both helping each other. So that's
Well,
exactly what you did with that webinar.
yeah, and I think the thing that I learned about the webinar, because like I'm like, oh, too busy to do marketing, whatever. But I found it really surprising that people were reaching out to me and saying, almost like, I don't know what you can help me with, but I want you to help me. It's
Yeah.
like, they really got a sense that I cared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I totally agree. Yeah. And that makes all the difference in the world. So I do some coaching with folks and I always tell them people need to know, like, and trust you before they're going to get into business with you. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be a long time that they take to know, like, and trust you. In the course of a webinar,
Yeah.
they could recognize your caring heart. And I know I have sought people out in that situation too, where I've learned something from them. And I
Hmm.
think, I don't know what I can pay you for, but I want to pay. I haven't used those words, but in my head, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
but there needs to be a value exchange here. Like, you've
Mm-hmm.
given me something. It's, I think, pretty natural for
Mm-hmm.
people to feel like I want to give you something back. And P.S., I like you. So, like, how can
Mm-hmm.
we work together? Because that way I can pay you
Yeah.
and we can work together. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best. Did you use any specific webinar
No,
platform?
I just use Zoom, but the other
Yeah.
thing that I did, because I'm involved on several masterminds and different tech groups that I belong to and
Yeah.
stuff to just encourage the learning partnerships with people. And so, most everybody I know, they do webinars for free. And so then when I decided to do, I thought, no, I'm not doing mine for free, but I did it for like $20, something really cheap.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought, well, because I know from my counseling work, if people have to put something into it, then they show up.
Skin in
And
the
so I
game.
didn't want tire kickers.
Yeah, right.
So it was
I
20
love that.
bucks and there was two people that didn't show up. So then I reached out to return their 20 bucks. And then the one woman wrote me back and said, oh my God, I totally didn't expect that. That's amazing. I will want to work with you in the future.
Yes, you showed her what a,
Because it wasn't
yeah,
about the money.
honest
I
person
just
you are.
wanted
Right.
some accountability.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus, people value something that there's a monetary price to. You
Mm,
know, if you take the time to really break that down, it shouldn't be true, but that's true for all of us.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, no, I totally get that. That's brilliant. So, how did you? Okay, you just did your webinar on Zoom.
Hmm.
How did you take the money ahead of time then?
Oh well, already on my website. Oh, there's a lot of tech things I could tell you about
Yeah,
that
really.
that
But
I use.
just in general, they just signed up
Okay,
ahead of time off your website. Is that what you're saying? And you took that money and then it sent them a link to the Zoom?
yeah, pretty
Okay.
much, yeah,
That's all you need to
yeah,
tell me. I just wondered what the steps were
yeah,
that you
yeah.
did. Okay,
And then
super.
I reached out like a couple of my happy clients.
Yeah.
I told them about it, and so then they spread the word to some of their people.
Yeah.
So that's basically how that
Right.
worked.
So do you have
Yeah.
an email list?
Yes. Oh, yes. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that on your website? Do you have like an opt-in for people to sign up?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Both on Susan Miller Hall, the counseling one. I offer a free ebook on um, medical preparing your medical information for when you go to the doctor. I
Oh,
always call it
brilliant.
like yeah, it's a medical resume. Teach people what to do
Oh,
because
smart.
at the time in the doctor's office, like you got to very short time. So
Yes.
I always go really
And
prepared
stressful. I
because
forget
when
everything.
yourself when you got a complicated disability or problem, they don't have time to go through the whole thing. So I basically do what they call a patient's presenting problem.
Mm,
So then I gives it's a one sheet. It's important that it be one sheet.
yeah.
So I give it to them and they're like, oh, this is beautiful. You know,
Oh, something
it's,
you literally hand to them.
mhm,
Oh gosh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. But the one that I make available on the website, it's actually a medical profile. And it's meant to be used like if you live alone, like I lived alone for a long time, and if something happens and you can't speak for yourself
Yeah.
and you have a complicated problem, then you need to have a way to communicate. So this puts that information. It's really for the paramedic people.
Oh, so
Yeah.
smart.
So that's a
Okay.
really
I can't
useful
wait
tool.
to go look at that. That's great. That is great.
Yeah.
And then do you for Suzy
Suzy
Web, do you have like an opt-in, like a lead magnet?
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, for the WordPress Overeasy, there's different things, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, there's a way to get
Excellent.
in there and talk to me about your
Great.
projects and things. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm just trying to
Mm.
give glimpses of how everybody does their business online, because so many people that are interested in doing this don't have a background in this. And so I
Yeah.
like to show all the different components of the ways that people are utilizing technology to make it
Yeah.
easier to start your own thing, to be a chronicpreneur.
Yes, that's an interesting term. Good, I like that. But the thing that I think is really important, and I really help a lot of people with, is a lot of people get sucked into things online. They spend a lot of
Mhm.
money they don't need to. They'll sign up for
Mhm.
ClickFunnels. They don't even know what they're doing yet.
Right.
They sign up for this lead magnet stuff, or the
Yes.
big CRM, like
Yeah.
the email. So they get
Right.
themselves into all these things. So what I do is I say to them when they come to me, and I'll say, you don't need this, 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 and this. So right away I save them a lot of money.
Yeah.
And basically teach them like you got to start like small.
Yeah.
There's no point in buying ClickFunnels when you don't have
Right.
anything to funnel. you
Right.
know. So
Yeah. That's so
teach
good.
teaching the whole relationship building through the email automations and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Oh, I just know you're helping so many people. I mean, that, as I told you before I hit record, I mean, my path was riddled with scammy
Yeah.
bullshit, courses that I took that promised they were going to teach me all these wonderful things that I could then
Hmm.
turn around and make money with, and it was garbage, and
Yeah.
I was out a lot of time and energy and money, and I was so frustrated, and I thought I can't ever do this. And I mean, that was really one of the main reasons that I'm doing Patients Getting Paid, was to help people
To
avoid all
avoid
that
that.
garbage. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was bad. But I learned a lot, and somewhere along the lines I did find good teachers, and so that's
Yeah.
something else. I want to be able to provide resources, like
Hmm.
legit, if you're interested in this, if you want to learn this, and now you'll be a resource of mine. I'll put you
Oh,
on that
good.
list too.
Well,
um,
and it's also a good idea to look at the different ways because I mean, it's the same as with my disability and how we all have to manage our, cope with that.
yeah.
With my WordPress over easy, I make it available. Like you can either do it by yourself,
Mhm.
you can do it with 3 hours support, you can do it with 6 hours support, or you can have me completely
Oh,
hold
that's
your hand.
smart.
So
That's
it's
smart.
whatever the people need. And I always give like 100% guarantee.
Mm,
So, I mean, if somebody goes to the trouble of going through my program and really trying, and they're
mhm,
like completely lost, I mean, I will, definitely go to the end of the earth to make sure that they get something. But
mhm.
I would definitely always give 100% refund.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if they don't, look out.
Mm.
So I have on here, I always ask my chronicpreneurs that I'm interviewing what you do for health insurance, but you shared with me before we hit record that you're
Canadian.
in Canada. So
Yep.
you don't have to have private health insurance.
No, no,
No,
yeah.
you're
Those things
good to
are,
go. I'm very
yeah.
jealous. I'm so
Mm,
jealous, but good for you.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Canada. How do I get up there?
Yeah,
Um,
right.
do you have any apps or special tools that you find helpful for your business? Well,
I,
actually, I want to ask for either work or chronic illness.
okay, yeah. Well, illness. Well, I mean, for the oldest, there's a whole list of gadgets, right? There's like,
Mm-hmm.
the I use a walker, I use a scooter, um, I use a cane to help me get dressed. I use button hooks and all kinds of gadgety things because
Yeah.
my disability. But the other thing I do have one thing. See, one thing that's interesting is that I can notice like some tech things. Like for example, I just bought this. It's called a Stream Deck. Okay,
Okay.
and there's
Stream
like
Deck Mini.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's 6 buttons. Now it's meant, primarily for high end, like for tech things, to
Yeah.
switch to another camera, to do this, do that.
Okay.
But I can configure it, and this is why I bought it, to like I can't do the left clicking on the mouse or the right clicking, one of the ones,
Okay.
copy paste. You can do shortcuts with your mouse.
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that with my hands. So I
Okay.
always have to go up to file, do it. So
Oh,
I do it, it
right.
takes me twice as long.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this now I can configure make a hot button. Then
Oh,
I can select something, go bing.
brilliant. Yeah.
So there's
I
a lot of
think that,
shortcuts.
do you know who Pat Flynn is? Are you
Oh
familiar
yeah,
with that
oh,
name?
of
Okay.
course.
I think he uses one of those
Yeah,
on his podcast, like
yeah.
for, I don't,
To
he
cue the
tied,
music,
yes,
cue the music.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that definitely useful for that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
yeah, so there's some gadgets that are more techy that you can actually use to help your disability stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Any
Mm.
apps or anything that you specifically use for work or organization or anything that you want to share?
Oh yes, okay. Good prompts. Yeah, because I'm really big on organization because I like to handle my own thing.
Hey. Mm-hmm.
So I use Trello board,
Okay.
and it is like free and fabulous.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And
Free and
so
fabulous. Those are the best.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and so I use those like I have one for each client, and I have a color code system, so I can look at that page instantly and know which page I needs to help them with on their websites.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I use it for like when I build courses for people. Really good for that.
Okay.
And you can definitely outline, the lessons, each lesson.
Yeah. And you
And
can
then when
just,
I
that's a thing where you can kind of brain dump and then just grab it and move it wherever you want it, right?
right,
Yeah. So if
and
your
then you
brain
can
works that way, that's super
organize it.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find that really useful, and then I color code things so that I
Mm,
can instantly see what needs done now.
right.
So I use
Yeah.
that. And the other
Smart.
thing is like I've tried all the, and because I build sites for people, I get to try a lot of different tech things.
Yeah.
And so, like for online booking, I use the book like a boss system.
Okay. I've heard of that.
And
Yep.
I used to use Calendly.
Yes.
I used to use a bunch of other ones, but there always was like something missing. So the book like a boss is brilliant. So
Good.
I definitely, and I have an affiliate link for that.
Okay.
But so it's just a really
Yeah.
good system. So I've been using
Excellent.
that for all my booking stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
Keep all the clients organized and to get reminders,
Right.
and so that's a really good one. And for all my online course stuff, I use a system called Lifter LMS,
Oh,
and that's through WordPress. So, like, rather than you going to like somewhere like Teachable or whatever, where you pay to
right.
be on their program,
Yeah.
yeah, like what I do is I help build people's programs on their website.
Okay.
So it's
Gotcha.
everything is secure and it's all there. It's all theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
The
not
other
paying a
thing,
monthly fee then. It's theirs.
right? And so
Mhm.
the other thing that I teach in the WordPress Overeasy, and this is really important, and you may find this interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so you have your domain, you register your domain,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a web host. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a name registrar, and then your web host, and then your email. A lot of people tend to buy those all together. Big
Mm-hmm.
mistake.
Mm.
Big mistake, especially if you use GoDaddy.
Okay.
GoDaddy has a really bad reputation within the tech world
Okay, good to
because you
know.
get people get sucked in there and you can't get out. So
Yeah, boy, it is one you. So that's where I do my URL registrations, but that's all that I do
that's
there. But
all.
every
That's
time I
okay.
go over there to do anything, it's like you can't get through it without getting 1,000 other pop-ups. And do you
Yeah.
want to do this? And do you want? And I'm like,
Buy
no, I
this.
just want to check out. Just let me check out.
That's
But I can
right.
see how
Yeah.
particularly newbies would get sucked into that because they present
Hmm.
it like one-stop
Best
shopping. You can
one-stop
get it
shop.
all right here.
And it's
But
super cheap.
yeah,
And you tend to get what you pay for, right? So
right. Yeah,
a lot of
truth,
times I
truth.
end up going and helping people to separate those three,
Gotcha. Yeah.
because, and then it's really good because, like, if you get a website and you're with a host and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly you're not happy with that host, you
Yeah.
want to make it really easy to transfer to a new host
Right.
and you can do that with like within 5 seconds if you're not connected to something like GoDaddy.
Right. Yeah. Great point. Do you
Yeah.
have a web host that you
I do
suggest
all,
that you love?
yeah, me.
You. Oh,
Yeah.
you are a host. Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Suzy Web. We're learning all kinds of interesting stuff here. How
Yeah.
you can help us. So we talked a little bit about organization. What about how this is more personal, but I think it helps everybody. What about for your books? Do you just use a spreadsheet? Do you use QuickBooks? Do you use a
Oh, for
bookkeeper?
books.
How do you, because this is one of the
Yeah.
things that freaks people out the most, honestly,
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
included.
No, I could pretty much use, the old fashioned way. I
Yeah.
used to use QuickBooks,
Uh-huh.
you and then I have other systems, I have other programs like if I'm doing a proposal for someone, then I do it through something called Fresh Proposals. So there's different tech
Mm-hmm.
things that I use. And then I
Gotcha.
use another business program called Plutio
Oh,
that, yeah, I know.
not heard of that.
No, yeah, I mean, when you're in the techie thing,
Right.
you get, you sort of learn about things when they're new.
Yeah.
And I got to know about Plutio, I guess about 4 years ago. And I reviewed it and thought, this looks like it might grow to something quite useful. And it did.
Oh, good.
So, it does all the accounting, the invoicing, and does things really well and
Nice.
quick, easy.
That's
So,
the key. That is the
yeah.
key, quick and easy. So
Because like
that
where I used to use QuickBooks, I now use
use that.
more of the
Okay.
online.
Well, I think it sounds like with all these sort of systems you have set up that you are a big proponent, as am I, for organization from start to finish, right? Because that is
Absolutely.
you can get yourself in the weeds so quickly and
Hmm.
feel overwhelmed. And I know overwhelm is stress, is
Yeah.
illness to me. Like you can see the
Exactly.
direct line.
Yes.
Disorganization, overwhelm, clutter, overwhelm, stress in bed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
was my life, but not anymore because I'm getting organized.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of good also to create some routines for yourself. Like I find when I'm starting work in the morning, and it's not like the old days where you had to be at the office at 8 or 9.
Right.
So I come in here I'm usually here about 8,
Uh-huh.
8:30, somewhere in there. And then the first thing I do is I will look at my calendar. Who am I seeing
Hmm.
today? What am I doing? So, and I will take maybe the first hour, just kind of review. I won't look at the emails and stuff for a bit. Definitely don't turn on Facebook.
Right, 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 right.
So I just look at what do I have on my agenda for today, because I
Hmm.
sort of map out my client's journey, if you like, because if you're building a website, you need to space it out.
Hmm.
And so I will look at that and think, okay, there's 3 people that I really need to do this right now this
Hmm.
morning. So the first 2 hours, I make sure that I do that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
then about 11 o'clock, I'll open the emails. And that sucks away,
Smart.
till
Right,
lunchtime.
exactly. Yeah, at least. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And I have just in the last few years figured that that is smart to have at least some semblance of routine
Hmm.
across the board in your life. So for me and people with MS, we have a lot of cog fog issues, I call them
Hmm.
cognitive stuff. And, I would get confused and I would forget things that I meant to do or whatever. But if I set certain days to do certain things and they're always the same, and I put everything on my calendar and I
Right.
alarm everything and all like that. But
Yeah.
for instance, like every Sunday I do the laundry and every Monday I get the groceries, and I just have,
Yeah.
then I'm never lost. I never have to
Yeah.
wonder. And, I swear life is about organization, and life just, when you streamline everything. It's just, I don't know. And I feel less clutter around me means less
Yeah.
clutter in my head. So,
Well, I think the other thing too is like when you have a disability, right? So there's many
mhm,
things that you cannot control,
right.
and there's so many things that you actually need to make things, manageable. So
Mm-hmm.
that the certain things about the things that you can't control, I've always found that if I really attend to the things I can control,
Yes.
I'm in a better place. Like
Mm-hmm.
simple things, like I used to really always laugh at my friends that were always like fishing in the purse. Where's my keys? Where's my keys?
Right.
Okay, you know what? There must be a compartment in your purse that you can always keep them in.
Same place. Yep. Exactly.
Simple
Yeah.
things like that.
Yes, but it makes a
Yeah.
huge difference. It really does. Dial down that
Mm,
frustration and the stress of that. And there's empowerment, like what you
mm,
just said. There's a lot we have no control over. So those things that we do have control over, take control and
yeah.
feel the empowerment of that,
Mm,
I can
yeah.
deal with this, therefore I shall.
Yeah.
I am going to boss it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the big question, what advice would you give to other chronics who want to do something more flexible or remote, either full-time or as a side hustle? They're interested in
Yeah.
becoming a chronicpreneur. What is your best advice for them?
Well, my best advice for them is to look at two things. One, what are you good at already?
Hmm.
Right. So, like, I was already kind of good at techie stuff
Hmm.
before I decided to go down this road, just because I've always been
Right.
interested
Yeah.
in computers and things.
Right.
So then that was like, okay, there's a quarter of the way I'm already there. So
Yeah.
if like you're interested in fashion or something or whatever it is you might be
Hmm.
interested in, you know, stay in that arena
Yeah.
and
Know yourself.
explore what's in there.
Yeah.
And, and then you really need to narrow because if you think you're going to do something like, oh, then everyone can buy, you're making a big mistake because it
Yeah.
what
Agreed.
and the difference is, now that you're in this whole online world thing, it's huge.
It is
It's
huge.
huge. So like when I specialized, like when I just did websites and I had, like I
Yeah.
said, I had car potters and
Right. All over the place.
and
Right.
I was like, I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
Obviously I did it, but it was like wasn't as fun. So then
Right.
once I kind of really dialed into, no, I really like to work in the helping field. And
Yeah.
then I started working with those people. Then they jazz you up. You feel good about
Yes.
working with them,
Yeah.
right? So, and then you think, oh, you're narrowing, yeah, but then I have a lineup waiting for me. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like I made the right shift.
Yeah.
So
Right.
really,
Exactly. On lots of levels there. There's
yeah,
plenty of people in each very narrow vein.
yeah,
But
and don't think that you're not good at something. That's the most important thing. Because even if you're not now, if you know the arena,
mhm.
then you can find that thing that you
And
might
you're
really
interested.
enjoy.
That's the thing. If you've got an interest, I have a friend now who loved to make these cute little teddy bears. She just sewed these cute little teddy bears. And it occurred to her that maybe she could sell them online. She started doing that. And then that's not real scalable. I mean, it takes a while to make each one.
To
So
make
what's
one
scalable about that? Now she did a
teach, yeah,
course. She's teaching people how to make teddy bears, and
yeah,
she is freaking killing the game. I mean, who
yeah,
would have thought? But it
yeah,
came from, what am I good at, or what do I really enjoy? And that's the thing too. I feel like if it's not
mm-hmm,
if it's not sustainable, and I don't think it's sustainable unless you enjoy it, right? You don't have
right,
to love it every day. I don't get up
yeah,
going I don't love everything. I don't like QuickBooks, but I have to do it. It's part of my job.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
But
yeah,
I generally really enjoy this work. So I think if then it becomes
mm,
sustainable. If you hate it, you're not going to stick with
yeah,
it. But anyway, I
yeah,
love everything that you've
true.
said, and I really adore you, and I love what you're
Thank
doing,
you.
and you're helping people. And so if people want to learn more about you or your online business, reach out to you, and maybe hire you as they get into this chronicpreneur stuff and maybe learn how to do a WordPress website from you. WordPress
Just,
website from you. That's not easy to
yeah.
say. Where do they find you?
Well, for all my web stuff, it's Suzy Web, SUZY
Okay.
WB, Suzy Web. And you'll notice my cartoon. I make cartoons
Oh,
of myself and my partner usually, and the interesting about the cartoons, because that's what sort of led me into the Suzy Web,
uh-huh,
because a lot of people would see my cartoons on my blog on susanwheelerhall.com, which
uh-huh.
is my coaching website, because I
Okay.
use cartoons to kind of lighten up the story,
Yeah.
you know?
Good idea. Uh-huh.
And so I had many people contact me and say they loved my cartoon with me with the walker or me
Uh-huh.
on the scooter, and then it made them feel um, more like they wanted to approach me
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was
I get that.
lighthearted about it, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
love that. And
So
how about on,
anything for SusanWheelerHall.com, that's where you're going to find about the coaching, some lots of downloads. I don't do a lot of sales work there because it's mostly like download the three medical aid things,
uh-huh.
and then there's lots of blogs and podcasts there as well and all that. So that's all more, mm, that's sort of my
Mm-hmm.
previous career that I still
Right.
love to help
Uh-huh.
people. But then Suzy Web is now more the web stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent. And you had mentioned to me that you had
Oh,
a special discount to give to the Patients Getting
absolutely.
Paid community. What
Absolutely.
is that?
So if you're interested in the WordPress Overeasy course, which you can either do yourself or you can do it with 3 hours of support or 6 hours
Mm-hmm.
or more as needed, I'll give a 20% discount and just use the code PGP20 when you check
Excellent.
out.
That's fantastic. And that is at susyweb.com.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for that discount code for PGP community. We appreciate it. And thanks so much for sharing your story with us, Suzy, and all this great advice. I can't wait to re-listen to this because you taught me a ton and I know I missed some stuff. I
Good.
wish you all the best in your chronicpreneur endeavors and in your health and in your life. And just thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And I think this is a great thing that you're doing for the community because, I think that we all need a little bit of good direction when we feel
Mhm.
lost.
Yeah.
So I think this is
Yeah.
a,
I wish somebody would have
yeah,
presented the path to me. So
yeah,
that's why I want to leave some, breadcrumbs for others.
yeah. Great. Well,
So
thank you so much for having me.
thanks so much. Take care.
Bye bye.